Hi everyone, I'm Nadia.
Hi, I'm Aaleia.
Hi, I'm Nameera.
And this is Operation Tomatometer. Welcome back to yet another episode of Operation Tomatometer, the Classic's official film review podcast. If you're new here, you should know that we give our commentary on newest films, TV shows, and more. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy.
But before we get into this week's film, we'd like to remind you to stop, drop, and rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts. So all you have to do is search for Operation Tomatometer and rate us 5 stars at the bottom and give us a rating and maybe include a recommendation of what film or TV show you'd like to see us review next.
Now, as you may have noticed, we have a very, very special guest. Let's give a warm welcome to Jasmine Palma, one of the editors-in-chief for the Classic.
Yay!
Hi everyone, I'm super excited to be here and I'm happy to have been invited.
So, if you haven't heard that sound, you know, the one that sounds like a time bomb. Tick, 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 huh?
Yeah. 12 weeks in, getting better. I see you. Okay.
Alright. Then you know about the latest sensation, Tick, Tick, Boom.
Starring notable actors such as Andrew Garfield and Vanessa Hudgens, this is a musical film from Lin-Manuel Miranda, which is his debut as a film director, and it's based on the autobiographical musical by Jonathan Larson, telling about his life, and we will be reviewing it today.
Jonathan Larson was also responsible for the musical Rent, which is super exciting, and I think we might talk about some of the parallels later on. But a brief summary of Tick, Tick, Boom. It follows John, who's currently an almost 30-year-old theater composer who's currently worrying about his time running out for making some sort of big achievement in his life. He's hoping that he can create the next big musical, which is called Superbia. However, John is facing many challenges along the way, and he's asking himself whether the amount of sacrifice required for his future in musical theater is really worth it.
So now let's get into our Rotten or Not segment, where we will predict the scores that the critics at Rotten Tomatoes gave Tick, Tick, Boom.
Alright, so diving right into it, I'll go first. So, talking about critic scores, I want to guess that they gave an 87. I overall thought it was such a good film. I really enjoyed it. When I try to think of criticisms, the main one, I think, well, we can talk about this. I'm not entirely sure about it, but maybe pacing. It was a very long film, and yeah, we'll talk about pacing, but later.
I'm going to say 90.
Okay.
Very close. I think that it was probably in the high 80s or like the low 90s. Not really sure why, but I can't imagine it being all that much higher. I think that people are probably comparing it to the original musical, so that might be why they took off a few points. What do you guys think?
I think it would be maybe an 80. I think that it's a very particular style that not maybe a lot of people would be interested in. Again, like Nadia said, the pacing, it was a bit slow until we got to the end, and I feel like that was a bit rushed. But for everyone who likes the musical theater and is kind of like a theater kid, I thought it was like really enjoyable. The storyline was really interesting, and it had star-studded cast and a lot of, especially in the Moondance Diner scene where you could see a lot of stars congregate, and I thought that was really interesting. So I feel like it would be really good for some people, but I don't know if it's that type of film that will be like for everybody. So I would say about an 80.
I'm going to be rating it in terms of like critics. I think they would have given it an 85. I think there was a lot done really, really well in terms of musical scores and whatnot by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I think the casting was on par, which is added on to the entire scheme of things. And also I really enjoyed like certain editing, and we can get more into that, but I think critics just genuinely would have liked in seeing like an autobiographical like movie, not focus on like the death of someone, but honestly their life and their life's work. So I think 85.
Alright, so we're generally all in the same area from 80 to 90. So now will our lovely producer show us the actual score. Drum roll. Oh,
88.
okay.
Good.
That's good.
Ooh, alright.
So Nadia was the
88.
closest.
Yay! Thank you. Alright, so, well, similar to last week, I was really close, not gonna lie. So I, of course, agree with the score. I thought it was a great film. They did a lot of things that are very well, like Nameera said, the editing I really enjoyed. But I think, also agreeing with Jasmine, the pacing, and it was very slow at the beginning, so I would dock points for that. So that's my thinking. What do you guys think about the scoring?
I definitely agree with this. I think it was a really good film, just looking at it as an overview. I think the audience score would probably be higher than this, just because the audience score usually is a bit higher, and also because they're not going to be as critical of it as critics obviously would be. So I would say for the audience score, maybe a 93.
I also agree that the audience would probably like it a lot more. I would say in the range maybe of 85 to 90. I really loved the songs, especially like Therapy Boho Days.
Yes.
I had Boho Days stuck in my mind. I know, Nameera, you really like that song too.
Yes.
So I really thought it was enjoyable, and I think that audiences might have liked it. Like I said, it's stylistically, maybe it's like some people like it more than others, if that's what you're into, but I feel like for the people that style did agree with, I think that they really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I personally, as an audience score, I would give it a 95. I really enjoyed this film, and I think that, like, ever since we saw, like, La La Land come to the theaters, it's more of that musical aspect that's really appealing to people. It's, like, kind of, like, on, like, an upward trend, at least, because we're seeing, like, 2 in, like, the last couple of years. So that's kind of crazy, comparatively, like, Grease and, like, all of those 90s-centered films, but,
Yeah, absolutely what you just said. I was thinking about them, like with La La Land, and then with In the Heights that came out in the summer, and then now this. I'm really excited for like this live action musical genre coming back. I'm really happy about that. And when you said 93, I looked at my notes because I have the exact same guess for the audience score. You know, not to steal your score, but I do think the audience would have enjoyed this a little bit more than the critics because, like you said, musicals are coming back. I like it. So again, now will our lovely producer show us the audience score.
All right, Nadia.
Okay.
You have a 96. Took Nadia off her peg. Yeah, I'm the closest one now. So yeah, I agree with the score definitely.
You take it.
Thank you. So I definitely agree with the score. I feel like the musical numbers in itself was just amazing, and you know, I love me a good boho days. But honestly, I think that like another thing that people might have just really appreciated was how the musical scores were adapted in the stories itself. Like I remember during the musical number in the diner, seeing that kind of like set fall apart. Yeah, that was incredible. I think that was just so well done, and people don't see that, something that's worth a lot of shock value. And I think that sticks down audience's mind. I think this movie about Jonathan Larson was both informative and yet so fun to watch in itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, Andrew Garfield did a fantastic job depicting Jonathan Larson.
Yes.
He's very expressive. Even in Spider-Man, you could see his acting is really focused on his mannerisms and being expressive, not just in his voice but also in his body language, which I really enjoyed. And I actually watched an interview with both Lin-Manuel Miranda and Andrew Garfield where they annotated scenes in the film, and they were very fastidious and meticulous with the details of like the scene and setting. Like in the boho days, in that scene, there apparently that there's like this portrait, this piece that was actually in his original apartment. There were guests there that had worked with Jonathan Larson as well. They actually looked at pictures of his apartment and they recreated like this dented bookshelf, and that really attention to detail and just all of the little details just really sum up to a really great experience for viewers.
And yeah, adding on to that, like I think that like the main thing with Andrew Garfield here is that like he took a year to really just learn how to sing, and I think that is so commendable because the soundtrack is just marvelous and he does a great job. Now I gotta ask, what was your favorite musical number, guys? Come on now.
The whole soundtrack, it was so pleasing to listen to. I was really enjoying watching this movie just for the songs. I mean, for more than the songs, but the songs were great. Like, right off the bat, 3090 just pulled me in with Andrew Garfield's amazing vocals, which I don't know how he accomplished that in a year, but you know, my man's is dedicated. So it was really, really good. And I also enjoyed Vanessa Hudgens. She, with her harmonies, was really great, which can lead into Therapy, which is Jasmine's favorite.
Yeah, I love Therapy. It's just so expressive, and you can tell with the quickening pace as they're really strained. It shows like the whole point of the song is showing like modern romance, and you can tell as they slowly devolve into madness, and I really enjoyed it. The performance in itself on stage was really good. They were right next to go. You can see them smiling tightly, pretending to be okay, but not really. And
that's what I do in the show. No, I'm joking.
Okay, tell me how you really feel, Nameera.
It was also interesting how they would cut in his argument with Susan in between the actual song, which I really enjoyed. I thought it was interesting to listen to, and yeah. Therapy is really, really great.
I have to just butt in because what you said there is so true. That was my favorite scene in the whole movie, just because of like them cutting between the performance and then Susan and Jonathan's argument. I think that's another example of like the editing. I thought the pacing was so good in that, like the cadence, like it felt natural, and then they would end off on like angry faces between them, and then you go cutting to like a happy unhinged face that you know is a facade. I thought that was a great just moment between the song and the actual real life argument happening.
And Jonathan actually describes this scene in the musical setting as scenes from a modern romance as told in song. And I really love their interpretation of modern romance as being so convoluted that they're just saying, like, I think that you think, or you know that I know, or something. It was really interesting also, especially how fast they were singing with that. And I think if you've ever seen your parents argue, or just any two people in a relationship arguing, you know that this is something that we do, whether it's out loud or in our heads. We do have this very convoluted way of thinking about our emotions and how we interact with other people. So I really liked how they did that.
I also just don't know how they were managing to dance and not break their necks while singing.
Yeah.
Bro, the ending, I'm not even gonna try that, bro. It looked hard, but they did it, and they pulled it off. Any other numbers we have in mind, Nameera?
Yeah, so for me, I'm gonna have to say Boho Days. Boho Days is extremely catchy. I came in here chanting it all along the way. I just think it was really great, and I really enjoyed how they used it in a way that was so flawless, because I feel like that art collective party, you know, like Jonathan's party in his shabby apartment, he makes his way and he uses the space really well, which is great direction on Lin-Manuel Miranda's point. And he kind of like, as he's going through the lyrics, he's pointing at each part of the apartment, you know, like the kitchen and the sink and whatnot. And I think that's just like, it's just really good. It's like an acapella number also.
Yes.
Love acapella. And it's just so damn catchy.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
It's too catchy. Like, I really like it.
The fact that he can just come up with songs extemporaneously, he's so observant. There's something about him not being able to finish things. Just like he doesn't want to turn 30, he doesn't want to finally finish his musical Superbia. And I just really enjoyed the fact that he was able to look at these really small details and just on the fly, like you said, just come up with a song, which I really enjoyed. And he looks, like you said, it's really catchy.
Yes.
And that's what the ticking represents, doesn't it? It's the idea of just running out of time. Maybe if you're watching this, you're sort of overthinking, what does the ticking mean? It has some sort of other meaning. But it really doesn't. It's about something that we deal with every day of our lives. It's like, are we going to have enough time? Sometimes it feels like we have too much time and we never know what we're going to do with all of it. But really, life is short, and that's another reason why the whole AIDS subplot to it was so important, not just for the time period, but also to show that we don't have a lot of time and you never know what's going to happen. And the ticking is really important to the overall theme of this, because it also works in with the music. And that's why my favorite scene is this real life, which is toward the end after John finds out that Michael was diagnosed HIV positive. And that's a really emotional number.
Yeah, it really was.
And I love how the ticking sort of like comes to a crescendo at the end of that, and it just stops. And it was really, really well done. And we were talking about Lin-Manuel Miranda's directing in all of the musical numbers, and this one was especially done really well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree about like the importance of the ticking throughout and how well it was used throughout the film, and just the overall concept of like a race against time with making this musical and so on. And then unfortunately, as we know in real life, the fact that Jonathan Larson passed away at 35 just shows like the whole time concept again and how short life is.
So one other scene that I really liked was when he decides to go swimming. Was it at the YMCA? Or was it YMCA? Naturally, it's New York City. That's where the YMCA. I really loved when he was swimming and he goes underwater and there's a bunch of numbers on the bottom, right?
Yes.
And he approaches the 30 because naturally he's approaching the age of 30 years old.
Wait, tell me why I didn't even put that together. I was just like, but anyways, go on, yes.
And he's trying to think of the song. It was Elizabeth's song for his musical. And as he's swimming, he starts seeing musical notes, and a music staff appears underwater. And it's this beautiful scene because not only is he approaching 30, he's approaching each note for the song as it comes. And that's sort of how it happens. As someone who has like done certain music production stuff in the past, I understand like how it is to have something just come to you all of a sudden and you realize did I steal this from someone, or is this just in my brain? And it comes to him as he's swimming under the water, and it was just such a beautiful scene.
Yeah, I was taken like aback from that. Like that was beautiful, and then just like the overhead shot.
Yeah,
bird's eye
it was
view.
one of our few wides that we got in the film.
Yeah, I thought that was
liked
really
it.
like stunning. That single shot.
I felt also just being in the water is so calming because it's like you're suspended. It's the closest you can feel to being airless, and I thought that was really freeing for him the moment that he came to grips with that song. And also just it's kind of a moment where I think one of the following scenes afterwards, he finally turns 30 and he has his little birthday. He finally has his songwriting. He's ready for the workshop. And I thought that the feeling of being underwater and just gliding through it, I felt it was just like the most natural way for him to have reached that song.
So to wrap up, let's talk about what happened at the beginning and at the end, which is he's talking about his birthday, right? He's talking about how he's approaching 30 years old. And in the beginning, he's sort of avoiding that. He's like, in a few days, I'll turn 30. Like, it's a death sentence, essentially. Like, I mean, you're turning 30 years old, not 90. 30. 90.
Yeah, 30.
That was good.
Ooh, we're all making jokes today.
Thank you. And then the last scene is of him singing Happy Birthday very delicately on the piano.
That
I
really
love
hit me.
What did you guys think of that?
I think in every movie, the last few seconds of the film are one of the more impactful ones because that's exactly what leaves you at that moment and is still resonating with you as you see a black screen now and you're waiting for the credits to roll. Ending it on that birthday, after seeing this whole thing and after being told at the end that he passes away at 35 and you're hit with this like very upset feeling knowing what he was achieving and going on to do and how much more he had to give to the world. It's such a sad thing, and then it ends with his happy birthday and you kind of feel nostalgic in a way and it tugs at your heart, and so I thought that was a really great way to end the film.
He's accepted that he's 30 and that it doesn't matter, it doesn't change anything. He's still him. He's not all of a sudden old. He can still contribute so much more.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I really liked how at the beginning of the film we also had like those like footage clips from the first night of Rent, and the person I forgot the speaker dedicating it to our beloved friend Jonathan Larson, and you see that again at the end. I think that was also a really good way to finally let us know like, oh, Jonathan didn't make it to 40, he didn't get to see Rent, and I think that kind of like brings everything full circle.
Absolutely. And then I just love that inclusion of those old clips, and then even the filming of Andrew Garfield in a way that was kind of reminiscent of an old clip at the beginning. I thought those were great choices. So yeah, I really love that.
The aspect ratio.
The aspect ratio, which we talked about in film club, so Nameera would know, and Aaleia as well. Elliot knows as well, our producer off screen. Yes. Okay.
So, Jasmine, our guest host for today, before we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts or anything that you'd like to say to our viewers or anything about the film?
Well, thank you for having me today. I really enjoyed speaking with you all. You can see how fantastically and immersive you guys, how much dedication you put to the podcast. I really enjoyed the film. I love Lin-Manuel Miranda and Andrew Garfield, so I really enjoyed the film. I actually watched it with my parents the first time. We all fell asleep, unfortunately. But the second time around, I saw it and I bawled. So yeah, I really loved the film. I loved the message, and I loved the musicality aspect of it. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Jasmine, for your feedback. So I think that just about wraps up our review today. So make sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts and rate us 5 stars. Follow us on Spotify, on YouTube, and yeah, be sure to keep up with us and follow us on Instagram at THHS Classic.
Also, we'd just like to remind everyone about the collaboration of the Classics Operation Tomatometer with Mr. McCaughey's new Marvel-themed podcast, The 27, in which he will review movies 27 in a chronological order of Marvel films. And yeah, just check out that.
That's right. So make sure to stay tuned for more tomatastic content from Operation Tomatometer and from Mr. McCaughey's podcast. So be sure to click the link in the description to listen to the 27's new episode featuring us. And also the newest episode, which features Irene and Amelia, where they review Iron Man.
All right, everyone. This has been Operation Tomatometer. Bye.
Bye.